what a bruise looks like when you get one on your arm or your knee, right? But have you ever stopped to think what happens if your brain gets a kind of bruise, but on the inside? It's a pretty fascinating question, and that's exactly what we're going to dive into. All right, first stop on our tour, let's figure out what's really going on in there. We're going to talk about something called a brain hemorrhage. Now, I know that sounds like a huge, complicated science word, but trust me, we're going to break it down so it's super simple. So, what is it exactly? Well, a brain hemorrhage happens when a blood vessel, which is kind of like a tiny little straw that carries blood around, breaks open inside the brain. This is actually a type of stroke, and it basically means the brain isn't getting all the good stuff it needs from the blood to work the way it should. Need an easier way to picture it? No problem. Just imagine that your brain has this whole system of pipes, like in a house. A brain hemorrhage is basically like one of those pipes suddenly springing a leak. And you can see right away why a leaky pipe in your body's main control center would be a pretty big deal. So, that leads us to the next really obvious question. Why would one of those pipes just start to leak? Figuring out the why is super important because it helps us learn how we can keep our brains safe and sound. So, let's look at some of the common reasons. There are a few main culprits. Sometimes it happens because of a big bump to the head, from a fall or an accident. Another big one is high blood pressure. For that one, think about blowing up a balloon. If you put way too much air in, pop! Well, that high pressure can be too much for the blood vessels. And sometimes the walls of the vessels just have a weak spot that can tear. So, whether it's a bump or too much pressure or just a little weak spot, here's the bottom line. Something happens that damages those really delicate, really important blood vessels inside our brain, and that's what causes the leak. Okay, now we get to the best part. Because once you know what causes a problem, you can figure out how to stop it from happening in the first place. This part is all about what we can do to protect our amazing brains. It's all about being strong and playing it smart. That's right. I want you to start thinking of yourself as a superhero for your brain. And what does every good superhero need? A shield, of course. So we're going to talk about how to build a special safety shield that keeps your control center protected. And building this shield is actually easy and even fun. First up, eat healthy foods. That's the high-quality fuel your brain runs on. Second, get out there and stay active. Playing and running around helps keep all those blood vessels strong. Third, and this is a really big one, always wear your helmet for things like riding your bike or scooter. And last but not least, if your head ever hurts really bad, especially after a fall, you have to tell a grown-up right away. There's this really famous old saying that is perfect for this. It just means that doing a small thing to prevent a problem is way better than having to fix a huge problem later on. Every single time you put on that helmet or grab a healthy snack, you're putting that amazing idea into action. Okay, let's move on to our final and really important topic. We know how to protect our brain, but we also need to know exactly what to do if an emergency ever happens, to you or to someone you're with. Having an action plan is everything. Let's be super clear here, because this is the single most important thing to get. A problem like this is a serious emergency. That means it's not a wait and see kind of thing. It's time to act and act fast. So, what's the plan? It's a simple 3-step plan. Easy to remember. 1, call for help right away. 2, find an adult and tell them exactly what happened and how you feel. Use as many details as you can. And 3, do your best to just stay calm and be as still as you can while you wait for help to get there. In many places, that magic number to call for help is 911. When you call it, you're instantly connected to amazing helpers like paramedics and doctors who know just what to do. Make sure you know the emergency number where you live, and never, ever be afraid to use it if you think someone is seriously hurt. Let's just say it one more time because this is the key takeaway for this whole section. When it comes to the brain, getting help from a doctor as fast as humanly possible is the most important thing you can do. Every second counts. And that brings our little journey to a close. We've learned what a brain hemorrhage is, what can cause it, and most importantly, how to protect our brains and what to do if there's ever an emergency. So I'm going to leave you with this one question. How are you going to be a superhero for your brain today?